Why are you so good? Hey everybody, it's Joe the 3D printing professor, and this is the Creality K1, a 3D printer that I am having a surprisingly good time using. Surprisingly because I came in with expectations that really weren't that high. A few videos back I reviewed the Ender 3 S1XL. I don't know what letters they're tacking on the end of them these days. But while the hardware was okay, being a 3D printer that so many people buy as their first 3D printer, it did a lousy job of bringing people up to speed. But with the K1, I can't explain it. They've done fantastic with this 3D printer, and it blows me away. Hey everybody, it's Joe the 3D printing professor, and if you're new to 3D printing or just want something new to do with 3D printing, you're in the right place. I hope that you'll stick around and maybe even come and join me on my Discord, where I have a great community of people who are doing great things and helping others do great things as well. I hope to see you there. The Creality K1. Let's start this off by calling a spade a spade. This 3D printer is Creality's answer to Bamboo Labs. But other 3D printer manufacturers, when they made their response to Bamboo Labs, they made an enclosed 3D printer and they made an XY movement system, but then they didn't put any more effort in beyond that. They threw Clipper on it and said, that's what people want. And my experience with those machines so far has been largely negative. It's just a wrestle to use, whereas the Bamboo Labs response is to make the 3D printers as easy to use. And Creality answered this correctly. But before I get into that, let's start with the unboxing, or should I say uncrating. Yes, this 3D printer comes fully assembled in a crate, and I haven't had many 3D printers that I had to pull out a pry bar to get into, but boy howdy, this machine, it was ready to transport safely, I can tell you that. The quick start guide for this 3D printer really is just 6 pages, 3 pages front and back, that tells you how to unbox the 3D printer, get it up and running, plug it in, load in the filament, and then it leaves you there. But then they include this absolutely amazing, they call it the VIP rights card, but on the back of it, it says basically you're going to find more information, the manual, on the USB stick. Also, you're going to need to keep this locked so that the filament loads in. Also, make sure that you adjust your voltage correctly. These two things, I don't know about this one in the middle, but finding the manual and getting your voltage set correctly are the number 1 and 2 mistakes that people make when they've got a new 3D printer and get stuck and lost with it. And here, this card, nothing else on this card, but go get the manual, set your voltage correctly, and by the way, make sure that this lever is selected properly. This card is the answer to honestly all of the problems that I had with the Ender 3, and it blows my mind. Also, it came with stickers, and I love every single one of these. I think I'm going to put these on my sticker wall. I mean, I'm not saying that I can be bought over with stickers, but it didn't hurt. Now, speaking of the slicer, or accessing this 3D printer to print your own stuff, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. They do have their Creality Cloud Slicer program that you can load on their computer, but they also have the Creality Cloud on a phone app, and this app is honestly amazing. If you weren't aware, Creality launched Creality Cloud, their own branded answer to Thingiverse or Printables or Thangs or whatever. It's a place that people go and upload 3D print files. Some of them, many of them, especially the ones that they show, are premium, but from the app you can access all of Creality Cloud and you can search for things. For instance, let's search for Printablock, and after a couple of seconds you find the Printablock models that I have uploaded to Creality Cloud. Let's choose the Printablock base blocks. Let's go into it and look at the available files, and if we see more on here, we can see them all. Let's pull up just a simple plate, a small plate of Printablock files here. And then as soon as you click on those files, it downloads them. You can hit slice in your phone app, and you are brought to a full featured slicer. You can look at it from different directions. You can change the settings. You can get a preview for what it's going to look like. This isn't just some half-baked solution where you go print it and it just automatically figures it out for you. No, this is a full-featured, albeit cloud slicer, but a full-featured slicer that you have full control of in your phone. How cool, how amazing is that? Now, Creality does sell premium access to their slicer. Because it's a cloud slicer, your files are going to be sent to another machine where the slicing will happen, and then it will be beamed to your 3D printer. But if a lot of people are doing that, you might experience a delay. So why not ask people to pay to get to the front of the line? And honestly, I'm not opposed to that. But in the usage that I have had of this so far, Creality Cloud isn't being used so extensively that I think that that's a problem at all. I never saw any delay whatsoever. Although, honestly, this being so easy and so good to use almost makes me want to pay for premium service just as a thank you for doing this right. Now, one of the first things that I 3D printed was one of the test prints on the USB. It's a Flexi Cat, and I printed it in this transition filament from my friends at Sliceworkx. They're calling this one banana because it transitions from yellow to green and back to yellow and green and yellow and green. So this print actually ended up with almost all yellow on one side and all green on the other. But after a few layers, I noticed that there was a problem. Parts of the cat weren't sticking to the print bed. I let it go, and while those parts did fall off, overall the print didn't fail dramatically. However, as soon as I pulled the cat off the print bed, smugly thinking, haha, their bed doesn't stick at all, I noticed that right across the top it has a warning that says, please apply glue before a print. Aquanet is my choice of glue sticks, but yes, I did not prep the bed the way that they tell me to on the bed, so that fail, 100% on me. However, what happened next was not my fault. The next print that I tried to print, I noticed something weird happen. It timed out and said something about temperatures not what expected. So I restarted the print and watched it happen very carefully. And what I saw was that my nozzle temperature was fluctuating wildly, jumping higher than it should have, lower than it should have. It was completely out of control and it would not start a print. Now, to the credit of Creality, the 3D printer noticed this and stopped the print, did not allow it to happen. One time. But that cat apparently was also having this problem and it didn't stop it for that one. So it was a problem that sometimes was bad enough that the software would catch and sometimes wasn't and it would let it go through. But nevertheless, there was a problem. So I had an opportunity to contact support. And I can report that Creality Support has not changed much at all since I last used them. Yes, they're still slow. They still require a lot of time back and forth to get at. They still ask you to do things that you've already told them about and told them that you've done. But they also did this thing where they would say, hey, we want you to, well, disassemble your hot end, and then they would send me a link. Now, when Bamboo sends me a link, it goes to a wiki page that tells me how to do the thing that they're asking me to do. But when Creality sends me a link, it's just a link to Creality Cloud. And does Creality Cloud have a wiki or some sort of knowledge base on it? Not that I could find. Now, fortunately, I know how to use Google, and I was able to find out how to disassemble the hot end for the Creality K1. And after disassembling it, I showed them pictures, and I was like, guys, do you want me to disassemble it more than this? I've taken it off. I could unwind this whole thing, but this is an entirely new hot end. I don't know what I'm doing. I need a little guidance here. Now, at this point, I think I got somebody else in support because they said, well, hold on, you shouldn't have taken that apart. It probably just that the connector for the thermistor was loose. And I was like, what, you want me to put it back together now and try another 3D print? I had to pull those connectors out. They weren't loose, but you know, it's fine. I'll do what you ask so that you can't say that I didn't do it. So I put it all back together, put the connectors on, ran a print, and the problem went away entirely. Yeah, I think the connector was just loose to begin with. Just do what the support people ask you to, people. They know what they're talking about. And since that time, I have been printing non-stop with this printer. I decided this year that I would take some of the desktop scripture trees that I've made. They have scripture-themed ornaments on them. And I would try to sell some of these locally to raise a little bit of extra money for a special Christmas present for my family. And this machine has been pumping these out non-stop. Ornaments, trees, a little bit more of that banana transitional filament. But it has been working like a workhorse, and I have nothing to complain about. In fact, I like the way this machine is working so much, I bought the camera for it. Yes, it comes with the capability to have a camera, but on the K1, it doesn't come standard. You have to buy it extra. But installing it was so easy. It took almost no time at all for me to open it up, pull the connector that's just sitting there waiting for the camera, plug it in and put the camera in place. And now I have a camera on here. While technically it has spaghetti detection, we really haven't had spaghetti-fied tests to check it on. I just like being able to look in on my prints because it's out here in the shed where I am not a lot of the time. Oh, and it's getting colder out here in the shed, and the Creality K1 being enclosed doesn't even care. Doesn't slow it down at all. It's just been pumping these out over and over again. Mind you, I'm not starting the prints when it's at its coldest point in the day. I try to start them, during the warmer part of the day, but it will keep going for 12 hours into where it's cold, but it doesn't care. At this point, it's warm, it's ready to go. It's not even stopping. I love it. I love it. It's great. One other experience I had with this machine, while I was transporting it from the makerspace where I was testing it to here where I'm going to be using it a lot, I lost 2 of the reverberation absorbing feet that it comes with. It comes with these feet that'll catch the shake, which it really needs because this 3D printer super duper shaky. But the feet, I just dropped them. I lost them. And I thought, I wonder, this is supposed to be a direct drive machine, so, right, it can handle flexibles. So I pulled out my old roll of Ninja Flex. Ninja Flex is even softer than your regular TPU, and I slapped it in there. I found a 3D model for the feet that apparently Creality had available, then took away and somebody else re-uploaded, so thank you for making that available. And I 3D printed. I had it 3D print its own replacement feet. And sure enough, it succeeded brilliantly. Ninja Flex feet are sitting up here at the front. These red ones are the ones that it printed itself. And you can tell it did a great job with Ninja Flex. So good job, K1. At this point, let me put my feelings this way. If I were going to make a new makerspace, either at a library or a school, or heck, if I were just to open a general makerspace, any place that you're going to take 3D printers and put them in the hands of the public, in the past, my suggestion has been get a FlashForge Adventure 3. Now I would probably fill it up with Creality K1s. And what's even better is this machine has a bigger brother, the Creality K1 Max. So get like 2, 3, 4 of the K1s and 1 or 2 of the K1 Maxes, because you do want 3D printers that people aren't going to be tying up for days at a time with their 3D prints, but then you want to have the bigger capacity, just in case for those jobs. And overall, I think that the Creality K1 fits the bill for that perfectly. It's easy to use. It's easy to train people to use. I've already taken apart the hot end, and really that wasn't that difficult, so it's easy to maintain. And in the worst case scenario, if the machine gets absolutely trashed because you're putting it in the hands of the public, it's really cheap to replace. That is the trifecta. Actually, that's 4, so that's a quadfecta, a quaternion. That is the perfect 3D printer for a makerspace. We're gonna have a budget change next year, and I might have some new 3D printers for the makerspace. And is it the perfect 3D printer for somebody who's beginning? Well, yeah, they'll get you up and running. Don't get an Ender 3, get a Creality K1. It's great. Well, that's it for this video. I want to thank you very much for watching and remind you that you are a child of God, so you're special to me. So take care of yourself, and if you can, someone else too. I'll see you next time.